Swan & Edgar are one of those brands that you have probably overlooked. You've probably never paid attention to the brand because some of their designs have been a little bit weird. However, that all changes today. They are moving their brand towards a more British image. They are a British brand and they want to be a little bit more British. So what they're doing is taking a lot of inspiration from history, and they've created a new watch that gets a very clean British inspired design. I have one hands-on, and I have to say this is a pretty good looking watch. Let's flip the camera and take a look at the new Horizon from Swan & Edgar. I don't know much about the original department store Swan & Edgar, which was a department store in London, I believe, in Piccadilly Circus, which is a place that I've actually been to, so I do know the area. However, I'm not familiar with the history. But I looked it up and I did a little bit of research, and it seems like it was a high-end department store for the elite of the time. And that's what they've named this brand after. Now, the watches that they made previously weren't, I don't know, I wouldn't say as nice as this watch, which is what I was about to say. I would say they were different from this watch. This is something that seems a little bit more focused. A lot of the inspiration behind this watch is very focused as well. So this is a blue fume dial. They are also making a white dial that is inspired by the White Cliffs of Dover, and this dial is inspired by the English Channel. So you have a very deep blue dial that is fume. So towards the center of the dial, it is a little bit lighter, and there's a pattern to the dial as well. And then the triangle at the 12 o'clock, which has a 12 o'clock index on it, and really there's no other markings on the dial except for a little bit of wording on the dial. It says Swan & Edgar, and then of course the date. That's all that's on the dial. That triangle is in gold. It's in a gold tone. It's gold plated, I believe. And that is inspired by the RAF sector clock. And that is why there is a large triangle at the 12 o'clock. That gives you orientation as well. But this watch is all about the dial. That blue fume pattern is textured, so you have a grain or a frosted texture, and then you have a line of polish that goes around the entire dial and around that triangle. And then beyond that, there is a white frosted area or a white grained area. And there is no lume here. There are no indices. It says Horizon at the bottom of the dial. Right below the hand stack, it says Swan & Edgar, London. And that is it. Of course, you have the date at the 3 o'clock. There is a surround around that. And it's very simple, very straightforward, but beautifully executed. They put a lot of thought into the design of this watch. If I had to complain about something, I would say I would prefer this without a date window because the dial is so beautiful. Now, I know a lot of people out there would not buy a watch without a date window, and that is probably the reason why they have added a date window to this watch. But my personal opinion, I would forego the date window and not break up this dial because this is a beautiful dial. They've really done a very good job with the overall design. This is a 39.1 millimeter watch is what I measured. It is primarily polished. So essentially the entire case is polished except for the case back where you get a little silhouette of the Cliffs of Dover, and there is some media blasting on that portion. You have a screwed in case back. You have around a 47 millimeter lug to lug. So the lug to lug on this watch is 47 millimeters, but with this strap, which is integrated to the case or it molds to the case, you have a much larger fit. So this will not wear like a 47 millimeter lug to lug. It will wear a little bit larger than that. If you have a smaller wrist, if you have a wrist like mine, it won't make much of a difference. And I have a 7.5 inch wrist, and of course, I will show you this watch on my wrist. You have an 11 millimeter thickness, and this is actually a pretty thin watch. That is because it is powered by a Miyota 9000 series, the 9015. Now, if they wanted to make this dateless, they would use a Miyota 9039, and I think that would be really good, but they did go with the 9015, so you do have the date, and that is the date at the 3 o'clock circular date window. There's a little surround around that date window. I think it looks really nice, and I'll do plenty of close-ups so you can see what I'm talking about, but Again, I would have done without the date. The thickness on this watch is around 11 millimeters thick. So that is including the domed sapphire crystal, as you can see. So this is actually pretty thin. Like I was saying, this is around 11 millimeters thick. So that's including the domed sapphire crystal. And you can see that domed sapphire crystal sits pretty nice off of that case. The strap on here is a gray suede, and I think it looks fantastic with that blue Fume enamel dial. The center of the dial does match the strap a little bit, so I think it looks good because it's like a grayish blue. And then you do have a custom buckle on here, which is signed, and it is definitely a custom buckle, which is milled. So it's a solid milled buckle, which again looks really good. On my wrist today, I have probably one of the craziest watches that I have purchased recently. It is a very large watch, and I bought it for a reason, because I wanted to make a video about it. I've been talking about this brand on my channel for a very long time, and it's just a crazy brand that I wanted to feature here, so that's the reason why I bought it. It's called Sniper, and these were very expensive. They went out of business a while ago, probably around 5 or 6 years ago, but here we are. I have one, and I'm going to make a video about it. And there it is on my 7.5-inch wrist. This is a very elegant looking watch. I really love the dial and how minimalistic it is, but at the same time, it has a very big impact because of that fume pattern, because of the texture, and it's still sort of glossy at the same time. That line of polish that goes around the dial catches the light, and it looks really dynamic, even though it's very understated. I would say this is a very understated but dynamic watch. You have that gold, there's a little red tip on the seconds hand that you really don't notice unless you look really closely. You have polished hands, however there are bevels on each side of the hand which are brushed, so a really nice handset on this watch. And then you have that extra line that is going all the way around the dial that is another grainy texture and is white. So lots going on the dial. Even though it looks simple, it's pretty complicated and very well executed. I think they put a lot of thought into the design of this watch overall. I have a 7.5-inch wrist, and like I was saying, this wears really nice on my wrist, even though it does have those molded ends to the strap, which is, again, harder to do, more expensive to do, so I think they were trying to do something very special here. And in my opinion, I think they have achieved it. This is something different. I like this, and I like the overall design. Like I was saying, 39 millimeter watch, so it's around 39.1 millimeters, 11 millimeters thick. And then you have a 47 millimeter lug to lug. But again, like I was saying before, this does wear larger because of those molded ends. Price on this watch is around $1,000 depending on the exchange rate. I think that is on the more expensive side for a watch featuring a Miyota 9000 series. However, this is a very different watch, and I really do like the design. I like the inspiration behind it as well. They are going full British with this, which in my opinion is a very good thing, and overall a very good looking watch. Obviously their name is Swan & Edgar. It is a British brand, and they are going full British with this. You also get 50 meters of water resistance. I do want to mention that. You do have a push-pull crown. You do have a screwed-in case back, but obviously only 50 meters of water resistance, which isn't terrible for a dress watch. And I would say this is a dress watch. Despite its nautical inspiration, definitely a dress watch. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys. What do you think of this watch? I will add a link to this watch down in the description. Definitely check it out if you are interested. And that's really it, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel, and I very much appreciate it. That's really it. I will catch you guys in the next video.